So I'm happy to hear your voice. I'm glad you're able to do the show live today. Definitely been some challenges for you, and so I'm happy to hear you today.
I'm even happier to hear me.
You're happy to be there, right?
Right. I'm happy to be. You said we're doing it live. I said, oh, that's a good sign. I think we're,
Right. You are alive. That's true.
Yes, right.
But no, people have been worried.
Oh, well, for the first time in almost 4 decades, I had to cancel an appearance in Washington, D.C. We're going to make it up to the people by giving them passes and all kinds of things. And they were just very, very wonderful about it. I had several interventions on my neck, surgical interventions and injections, and it just didn't seem to be taking it, its healing path. It's just been deteriorating for the last 3 months or so, to a point where I was ready to do the PBS show, to tape the new show, and 90 minutes before I was on the ground writhing in pain again. It just it came back. An absolute miracle took place in order for me to be able to push that aside and come out and complete the show, which was wonderful. But being on an airplane was out of the question, and flying that far. So it's been amazing. But something happened that's related to what we've talked about on the show before, because my secretary Maya I've said that there have been so many people who have come to me with different methods that they have for how do you deal with this back, this neck thing that.
Oh yes,
it's just getting progressively worse. Yeah, and I've gone to many people, energy healers and chiropractors and medical doctors and surgeons and anesthesiologists and injection specialists and on and on it went. And I kept telling Maya, look. She said there's this woman who called. She's so concerned about you, and Deepak has recommended that you talk to this man. And she said, I absolutely know he can help you. And I said, Maya, I just can't. I was there in San Diego, I stayed in the same hotel room for literally 2 weeks, just going through this effort to heal this thing that's just been living with me and just progressively incapacitating me. And so she called twice, and then finally, in the third time when she called, and she normally wouldn't call and pester me when I've told her, I don't want to be bothered. But she said, this woman is so insistent. She said, if you'll just call. So I took the number down, and she started to give me his name. She said his name is Pete, and then she said, I can't spell his last name, and it's just too complicated. And I said, well, give me the first letter. She said, E-G. I said, Igasco, Peter Igasco.
Oh, no, really?
Yes, now you had told me how your husband had and he answered the phone, and he was there in California. He said, I guess he has 25 clinics around the country and around the world. And it's like he said, you have been so helpful in my wife's life. You just can't imagine. She had a very, very serious bout with cancer, and she watched you on public television. And she said that the one person alive that she would love to meet before she died was me. And how influential I had been, and so on. He said, where are you? Are you in Hawaii? Are you in Florida? And I said, no, I'm here in San Diego at the, in Carlsbad at the hotel. He said, well, it's 10 miles from my home. He said, I'll be there within an hour. Now, this is the owner of all of these and the founder of the Igasku
now,
method.
This is interesting.
It's fascinating because I've talked about what you had told me about your husband, and I've known about him and his work and so on. His name is Pete Igascu. It's Egoscue. So he just, an hour later, he was at my door, and he looked at me. He said, your problem is not your neck. He said, your neck is fine, and your health is fine, because, I'm in good health. My weight is where I want it to be. I'm gluten-free. Don't do drugs. No smoking. No, just watching, just staying as healthy as I possibly can. And everyone tells me I look healthier than ever, but this neck thing was just, he said, it's your right hip. He said, your right hip is so shifted and out of balance. And, for all the years that I was doing yoga, I could always do things with my left leg and make it do all kinds of things. With my right leg, I could, it was like, one side of me is a genius. The other side is just seriously retarded. It's like, and I'm right-handed. On top of that, but he said your right hip is so off, and when it's off like that, he said it will. He said I've watched you on TV many times, and I would watch you walk around the stage, And I could tell just by looking at you that you were going to have serious back and neck issues, because you're. And he just designed my own specific program for me. Stayed there with me for 2.5 hours, and then put on a computer, sent me this menu, sort of a protocol of the exercises that I have to do, and they take like 50 minutes, and I have to do them every day. And then he's going to upgrade it and so on. He said, "I'll have you out of that pain in 2 or 3 days, and it'll seriously be reduced, and in a short time." He said, "It'll be gone, and you'll be able to do anything that you want. There is no reason for your body, to be going through this. You're just totally misaligned, and it could be from an injury, it could be whatever it is. You're totally out of alignment." And so I've been doing these exercises, and I must say my pain level has been reduced by about 50. I'm able to do the show today. I was able to get on a plane and fly back to Maui after being there for 2.5 weeks in the same room. Going through.
Right, because I was supposed to pick you up that day.
Right, and that was, I couldn't, it wasn't even.
You couldn't do it.
It was not possible. I could barely walk around the room. It was just to get to the toilet was something I had to think about. That's how serious this thing was. And I knew I had a public television special to do, and then I had to fly to Washington, and the more of that pressure that I felt, the worse that things would get. And then I had 90 minutes before the show, I had an absolute miracle take place. My wife and 4 of my children were there, because 3 of the children are a part of the show, and my wife was there. My wife and I have been separated for 13 years, but she's always been a very healing and just a very spiritual presence. And I kept asking this was at 5:00 or 5:30, and we were to go on at 7. And I was on the ground just like screaming in pain, could hardly breathe. And I just said, find Marcy. And they did, and they brought her in. She knew exactly what to do in the moment that she came in. I mean, I was with this woman and watched her go through 5 childbirths. I saw her do it without ever making a sound, she just had a way of going within, and she kept reminding me, "You're not the pain." Even though the pain was so excruciating, just let go of that. And she just sort of guided me through. And then her and 2 of my daughters just surrounded me. They just put their arms around me, and just in this incredibly loving time embrace, about 30 minutes, and the pain just subsided. I was able to do a photo shoot that I had to do with my daughter Serena, and to go out, and we started the show on time. And there were some serious glitches, which were setting me back a bit, just sound things, just technical kinds of things in the taping of the show. But once that was over, I think it's one of the best shows that I've ever done. I think it's going to just be a wonderful gift for public television and for the country. It's called I Can See Clearly Now, and it's based upon that. And it was the day after that, after my children had left, after Marcy had left, and I was just wondering what I was going to do. I couldn't fly to Washington. I didn't think I could even fly. I couldn't fly back to Maui. I didn't think I could get on an airplane, because on my way there, when they decompressed that plane, it was...
Oh, that must have been the worst.
Oh, my goodness. It was 6 hours of just... But with Pete, his name's Pete Igascu, and I have just great respect and love for this man. He kept saying all the time when he was in there treating me, and not really treating me. He said, "I'm not going to hurt you." He said, I'm just going to show you how these gentle exercises and very gentle stretches that you have to do to get your body realigned. And once you do, he said, you've just got a trapped nerve, and that nerve is just it's just exposed there. And as you start realigning, and he said, and in just a few days, if you do these exercises religiously, and I'm doing that. I've got someone here on Maui that. Her name is Dee, and she's been my masseuse for years, and she's going to take me through it every single day. Right after the show, I go over there and I go through this. It's almost an hour of these exercises.
Right.
But it's the first time in maybe 3 or 4. It's the first time in 3 or 4 months that I have felt that there's something happening here that is. And I had an intervention with John of God, to tell you the truth. It was like I had a surgical thing, and that was another amazing thing in the hotel from there. So
that happened here when you were in San Diego.
Absolutely, it did. And then the suture removal, very similar to when I had the leukemia 3 years ago. And I just think that those entities sent this man to him because there was just, first of all, the idea that he was only 10 miles away from me, that he would pick up his cell phone on a Friday night and within an hour devote his entire evening to me just because of what he felt was the impact that I had had on his wife. He said, "You have touched the hearts and lives and bodies of so many millions of people." He said, "I am honored to be here to serve you." And he's 68 years old himself and has, set up these clinics that are really based on, you don't have to think about surgery and you don't have to think about fusing your bones and all of that. It's very similar to John Sarno's work on healing back pain, only he's got very, very specific exercises for specific kinds of
They create the menu
pain.
for you, and you have to do it. And if
Absolutely.
you do it, you'll get better. I saw the results, and
yeah,
if I hadn't have seen it, I wouldn't believe it. I really wouldn't, because you don't think something so simple could really be that effective.
Right.
And the same thing, from like 6 painkillers a day, being incapacitated to back up to normal.
Through this whole process, because I knew I was going to do a public television specialist, so I haven't taken any pain pills.
I don't know how you could do that.
Yeah,
but you're
just think
superhuman.
No, but they just mess up. They mess up my mind and
makes you groggy
So I just didn't want to do that. I really felt, and 90 minutes before I went on Wednesday night, I just said, I held my children's hands, my wife, and I said, in order to be able to do this show, we're going to need a miracle. And Reed was right there in the room, so he watched Reed Tracy, who's the president and CEO of Hay House. He just watched, and I just went into a deep state, kind of a sort of a meditative prayer state, and I just said out loud, and my kids heard me, and my wife heard me. I said, if I'm supposed to go through this pain, for whatever reason, I'm certainly willing to do that, and I'm listening every day and asking, what is it here to teach me? But if I could just get it so I'm able to, to do this show, because I think this show, I can see clearly now. I just think it's perhaps the most important thing that I've ever done. It's really about moving ourselves and our own lives toward a place of divine love, and also moving our world toward a place of divine love. I just watched a 2-hour show on the Buddha, and he said that, that there's the violence in the world exists because we have violence in our hearts. And if we can take the violence out of our hearts, we can end the violence that takes place in the world. We won't have anything but to express but love. And that's what this is about, and that's what really my life is dedicated to. And I had a meeting with my children the night before and said, this isn't just a job for me. This isn't something that I'm just going out there to promote myself. I said, this is what I feel deep within me, that, and I feel that this show and this book particularly, and I can see clearly now, is so significant for making the shift I spoke about and so much in the film. And the shift is towards this place of living in divine love. And we just stood there, and I said, we're going to need a miracle. Otherwise, I'm not going to be able to. Now, the set was all built. There were some 40 people that are there, to create this entire thing. There's trucks outside.
And the audience too.
The audience is coming in. And meantime, I'm in the back on the ground in this deep, deep pain. And they found my wife, and when she walked in, and I just said this prayer out there, I need to have a miracle to take place so that I can, and the pain just started to subside. My wife was just guiding me through it. My children were holding me. Then all 4 of us just stood there and just with our arms around each other. And I said, this is my family. And I'm asking for this. And if the pain has to come back immediately afterwards, I'll take the pain. I can live with the pain. I just want to be able to create this show that I've worked so hard, and so many people, including the producer of the show, Nikki, and they were just all wondering whether the show was going to go on. Well, it subsided. I was able to go out, and it was the very next day that Maya made that 3rd phone call, and there was Pete Igasku in my hotel room, and I get back to Maui, and there's on the computer a complete menu of exactly what I'm to do every single day until I can talk to him, and he'll upgrade it to the next level. And I'm probably 50% less, feeling less pain than I have in any day since perhaps June. And it was just getting progressively stronger and stronger and more debilitating and more immobilizing, to a point where I was really wondering whether I'd be able to write or
Right, or
speak
do
or
events,
travel,
and that's so important to you.
or anything. I mean, it was that kind of pain. Like every time I moved my head, and it's still there a bit, but it's the miraculous part is that my wife happened to be there. She knew exactly what to do. As I said, I watched her give birth to 5 children, and she was amazing. She never made a peep. It was like she was deep within and knew how to go to that place within herself where you can overcome anything, any pain. And I watched her do it time after time after time, miraculously, without ever taking any drugs of any kind. And she's the mother of 7 of my children. And even though we've been separated, we speak almost every day, and we're very close. But this was, I really attribute the completion of the show to her. And then the very next day, I've got this man who gives up, his night with his family to come over and treat. And now he's, deeply involved in my life. So it's like it's what I can see clearly now is all about. When you step back and you can see that, when you're really aligned with who you are and what you're here to do, and you feel the excitement of that, you will be supported, and it will be effortless. And
right.
I was sitting out there on that stage and doing the show from an hour and a half or 2 hours before that on the ground in such pain that I couldn't even catch my breath. I couldn't even drink a glass of water. They had to the swallowing of it hurt my neck so much. They had to actually bring straws to me.
And dealing with that kind of pain is just
after a while, it's just it gives you a lot of compassion for people who live in chronic pain. And my mother did. In the last 10 years of her life, she had some severe chronic things going on in her that I used to feel so bad for her, and I'd watch her just trying to suppress the tears and so on. Unlike her, I didn't suppress the tears. I let them come.
Just let it out.
And I was screaming. It was so it was just miraculous that my wife was there, that she knew exactly what to do, that my children were there to support me. And then the very next day, when I wondered, where is my life going? We've tried, they're now talking about surgery. They're talking, serious, spinal fusion kinds of things and all of this, and all things that just don't resonate with me. And he looked at, in 1 minute, within the first minute he looked at me, he said, and it's amazing because I had a session when I was down in Australia with William, what's the psychic's name? Williams, her last name is Williams.
Oh, Lisa Williams.
Lisa, yeah, mm-hmm. Lisa. She was in Australia, and she came up and kind of did a little reading with me, and Nick Ortner was in the room with me, and she looked at me, she said you've got a trapped nerve, and you've got a problem with your right hip. She had said that to me in Australia a couple of weeks before, just some kind of psychic thing, and so. Your right hip can make your left side of your neck feel really bad. That's a hard thing to grasp. But it's like we are just one system, and we're designed, because I was reading Pete's book. It's called Pain Free, where we are designed to be bipedal. To everything on the right side matches everything on the left side, and when one side gets so turned around and twisted, and you may not even know it, after years and years of walking on it and adjusting for it. These nerves start to get exposed, and when one of them does, it's just it's like having being stabbed in the back continuously.
Yes, and I've had kind of a painful, like we're both dealing with pain, you and I, at the same time.
Right.
And everyone was telling me, because I'm here at Hay House, even Louise was saying, well, you need to send love to your back and your leg, and, where are you not supported? And I kept thinking, what's my lesson here? Because I really do feel supported, because I have a great staff, and my husband's helping me, and I'm doing the exercises too, like you, which I think is just amazing, and it's all been helping. And I think that my lesson was that I just needed to stop, because for me, I'll come here and I love what I do, and I'll work 10, 11 hours. I'll stay here till 6:30 at night. And, and I was just going all the time and not really accepting help. And I think that might have been, for me, learning to accept help and realizing you can't do everything all the time and that you have to take care of yourself. And sometimes you just need to rest. So it's interesting, the lessons. And I was reading, I got Ram Dass's new book, of course, because I love Ram Dass. And he speaks.
Polishing the Mirror.
Yeah, and you did a great.
I read the entire thing.
You did a great, intro to that. And he talks about, being the witness and not being, of the pain. And he lives with pain every day. And so that was really helpful, too, to kind of read his take on it. So, I'm so glad you're feeling better. I'm excited that
feeling much better.
The exercises are working.
The exercises are working, but more than that, it's the miraculousness of it. It's you're right. It's the letting go. Canceling my appearance in Washington D.C. was just loaded me with just so much stress about because I know people fly there from all over the globe to come and hear me speak, and to not be there, and it's the very first time ever in hundreds, maybe thousands of speaking engagements over 4 decades that I've ever done such a thing.
I'm sure that wasn't easy to do at first.
And the people were so wonderful, and Nancy explained to them why I wasn't able to be there, and what we were going to do. And there were one complaint, and not one person out of the 2,000+ people that were there even asked for refunds. They just they understood, and they just said, we just want him healthy, and we want him to live.